This is my gym accessory tier list. We will rate every single gym accessory to find out which ones are really worth getting and which ones you will just end up tossing in a box and never use again. First, let me start by explaining the tiers. The must-buy tier is pretty self-explanatory. Every serious lifter should have all the accessories in this tier. Then we have the definitely worth buying tier. In this tier, we will put all the accessories that are actually really useful, which will decrease the likelihood of them ending up in a box a couple of months later. While they are not a must-buy anymore, you should definitely consider buying some of the accessories in this tier. And then below that, we have the good in specific situations tier. This is where all the niche accessories go. They are still pretty useful, but only in very specific situations. So to really get the most out of the accessories in this tier, you really have to be sure that you need them. Otherwise, you will just end up tossing them in a box and then completely forgetting that you even bought some of these accessories. And that's not just in this tier, but pretty much in every tier. Except the must-buy tier, I guess. I can personally tell you that over the decade plus of lifting, I have a box full of the weirdest accessories that I forgot I even bought. Couple of days before making this video, I actually stumbled upon that box, which then inspired me to make this video. Because I don't want you to be like me and have a full box of things that you will never use. That's the main point of this tier list. So let's find out which gym accessories will be the best for you. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the last tier. This is simply for the things that are just completely irrelevant or useless. So let's begin. The first gym accessory on this list is a dip belt. This is the belt you use to add weight on dips or pull-ups. Not to be confused with the lifting belt, which serves a completely different purpose, and we will talk about that a little later. The dip belt was one of the first gym accessories I ever bought, and I still have the same belt I bought more than a decade ago, and I have been using it on and off for the whole time. And considering that it's a relatively cheap gym accessory, you will most definitely get your money's worth. So I would definitely recommend buying a dip belt, as it is one of the best gym accessories that you can get. I was considering putting it into the must-buy tier, but I couldn't. Even though it was very close, you can still be completely fine without having a dip belt. But if you are into doing pull-ups and dips, this is something that you should strongly consider. So it's definitely worth buying. Next up, we have straps. Straps are very useful in multitude of situations. The most popular use case is for very heavy deadlifts or rack pulls. But from the pure bodybuilding point of view, the best way to use straps is in situations where the grip reaches failure before the other body part that you are actually training. Like on the lat pull down, for example, where you really want to make sure that the thing that reaches failure first is your back and not your grip. Because as I said many times before, you are doing the lat pull down to train your back and not your grip. Straps are definitely not a must-buy, as most people will be completely fine without ever using straps. Also, what you should keep in mind is that straps is not something that will last you forever. You will have to buy a new pair pretty often, but that kind of depends on the way you use them. A long time ago, I used to do super heavy rack pulls just to butter up my ego, which was very stupid for sure. But the point is, the straps took such a beating and I had to buy new ones pretty often. So I'm gonna put the straps into the definitely worth buying tier. Just because straps are really cheap and it might be worth at least trying it out. But this was a very close decision and it very well could have gotten in the good in specific situations tier. Simply put, if you think that right now there is some exercise in your routine that you could benefit from using the straps on, then give it a shot. But most people can be completely fine without ever owning a single pair of straps. Then we have weightlifting shoes. Weightlifting shoes have two main benefits. The first and the main benefit is that it will elevate your heels, which will put your body in a more upright position, which will emphasize your quads when you squat. The second benefit is that it will help you out on the squat if you have very bad ankle mobility. These benefits are great, there is no doubt about that, but what you really need to know before buying a pair of these shoes is that you can achieve the same exact effect just by putting a small plate under your heels, which costs exactly $0, which couldn't be said for the weightlifting shoes as they can be really expensive. So I see it like this. If you are just a regular fella that goes to the gym and you like how it feels when your heels are elevated, just use the small plates and save your money, because buying these shoes is a big commitment. Because if you change your mind a couple of weeks later, you are at least not stuck with expensive shoes that you have no use for anymore. I would only recommend buying weightlifting shoes if you are really serious about it, or if you are like an actual weightlifter. In that case, you will be very happy about that purchase. So it goes into the good in specific situations tier. Now it's time to talk about the lifting belt. People use the lifting belt for basically only one reason, and that is the fact that it increases the intra-abdominal pressure, which means that you can easily brace your core against the belt, which will make you lift more weight, which definitely sounds really good, but to take advantage of this benefit, you have to know how to use the lifting belt properly. It's not like a video game where you put a new belt on and your strength automatically increases. The lifting belt for sure has its use cases, but I'm low-key a lifting belt hater. Because when I see people that didn't even get out of the beginner phase just yet using lifting belts, it kinda makes me sad. At the beginning of your bodybuilding journey, you shouldn't even think about using a lifting belt. Learn how to brace and breathe properly without a belt first. Then once you get advanced enough and you start doing super heavy squats for example, then you can consider it. So you might not like it, but you really don't need a lifting belt. So I'm gonna be pretty harsh and I'm gonna put the lifting belt into the good in specific situations tier. Alright, moving on to the knee and elbow sleeves. The main function of these sleeves is to compress the area and help you stay stabilized, which once again, beginners should not even think about. You should think about this as an advanced lifting accessory, as it starts to get really useful when you begin to lift very heavy weight. Just imagine you sleeve yourself up for the first day of the gym. That is just not the move. So you already know in which tier this goes. Then we have wrist wraps, which are kind of similar to the before mentioned sleeves. They also compress the area and make your wrists more stable. But I have a very big issue with wrist wraps, because they are the ultimate newbie bait. Newbies usually struggle with their whole body being kind of weak, and that is especially true for the wrists. And the easy band-aid solution is usually wrist wraps, but that is not what you should do. You just need to take it raw from the start. Otherwise you will have a very big problem later on. If your wrists hurt and are unstable from lifting 10-pound dumbbells, what are you gonna do when you will have to lift 100-pound dumbbells? You will be completely screwed. The only use case I see for wrist wraps is once again if you are advanced and you are lifting something so heavy that you just need the added stability. This is the only reason why it doesn't go into the Y tier. So by the slimmest of margins, the wrist wraps made it into the good in specific situations tier. But the gym accessory that wasn't so lucky is gloves. The only use case I see for gloves is if the gym you are going to is in a terrible condition and all the equipment is rusty. Or maybe if you are doing some extreme CrossFit and your hands are literally bleeding. But otherwise, it's just not needed. Next up, we have the ab wheel. This is actually one of my favorite gym accessories. But even then, it's basically guaranteed to end up in that box sooner or later. And some gyms even have these laying around. It's really a toss-up between definitely worth buying and good in specific situations. Because it really is worth buying. Because the ab rollout is just an amazing ab exercise. But you just have to come to peace that you will eventually throw it somewhere and never use it again. Or at least that's what happens to most of the people. I'm gonna put it in the definitely worth buying tier, but keep in mind what I said. Then we have the kettlebell. First, I wasn't even sure if I should put this in here, as it's almost like putting a dumbbell in here and saying it's a gym accessory. But then I decided to do it. The kettlebell is a must-buy tier for people who enjoy training with it, but for most of the regular gym rats, this is just a clear, good in specific situations tier. Not because it's bad, but because it's kind of a niche training style that most of the people just don't care about. And if you buy kettlebells without being a kettlebell enthusiast, you best believe that it will just become a paperweight. Now let's talk about the gymnastic rings. Rings are not something you would really consider your usual gym accessory, but I had to include it in here. If you are someone who does home workouts or is into calisthenics, rings are just so amazing. Even I have gymnastic rings in my home gym and I am using them on a regular basis for many exercises. Gymnastic rings are definitely worth buying if you are into that style of training. And most importantly, if you have a place where you can hang them. It might not be for everybody, but the ones who end up using them will see great results. Oh, wait a minute, why is there still nothing in the must-buy tier? Well, there is actually only one thing that goes into that tier. But before I tell you what it is, you should know that the way the exercises are rated in this tier list is very much on purpose. Because there are no gym accessories that are a must-buy. You can build an awesome physique without ever using any of the gym accessories I showed you in this tier list. Except the one I'm about to show you right now. So, drumroll please. The only must-buy gym accessory is your paper notebook. This is the one piece of equipment you carry with yourself every time you go to the gym. That's what you use to track your progress. That's your heart and soul. That's simply the most important thing you absolutely must have. So if you wanna track your progress on your phone, that's fine, but I really think writing your progress in an actual paper notebook is better. It just feels more personal and it prevents you from getting sucked into your phone while you are lifting. So that is the one must-buy accessory that you just need to have. And if you would like to become an expert when it comes to progress tracking, I would highly recommend checking out my training plans, which come with a very in-depth progress tracking guide for completely free, which will show you the best progress tracking system in existence, in my opinion of course. So check the link below if you are interested. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time. Wow, this video looks pretty spicy, I think you should go check it out.